I want first of all to congratulate all my friends and say Happy Purim to you. Happy Purim, Purim Sameach, that we celebrate today as a victory of the Jewish people that survived a genocide attempt 2,500 years ago in the Persian Empire. But also Happy Purim, because I believe that once again on this very day we are witnessing a great miracle. And by the way, remember that history repeats itself. We know that on Purim, Stalin died. On Purim, America began actually its war against Iraq, and the missiles stopped falling on Israel, and the world was, at least at that time, relieved of a threat of Saddam Hussein and his weapons. Once again, today we are facing a great danger of evil empire, led this time by the ex-KGB that says that no ever is ex-KGB. So there's a KGB criminal empire that actually threatens the world. Why we can celebrate its defeat today? Because morally it was defeated yesterday when Zelensky addressed the US Congress. It was an unbelievable speech, and probably the most important was actually the few minutes of a very powerful, emotional video that did not leave anyone without tears. I was crying, my wife was crying. People who watched it, they were deeply moved. I think that American people were moved. After this movie, Zelensky called upon Biden to be not just the leader of America, but the leader of peace for the entire world. And I believe that as a result of this plea, Biden, who did not really stand firmly against the aggression until now, but at least today he did one important thing. He called Vladimir Putin a war criminal. Russia was shocked. Even official Russian press like Lenta.ru, Gazeta.ru, and all the communist KGB Kremlin propaganda, remember that they arrested, murdered, poisoned journalists and opposition leaders. They don't allow any other opinion except for the Kremlin propaganda. And nevertheless, they started saying that in response to this ridiculous statement, this is what we in Kremlin say. So they made some stupid things. But I think that Russian people heard that the American leader actually called Putin a war criminal. By itself, that is defeat of Russia. Because Russians are scared of Putin, but they're also scared to be part of the Nuremberg trial. Therefore, supporters and generals and oligarchs and many others, they now scared not only of Putin, but they're also scared not to be part of the new Nuremberg trial that I hope will be assembled soon, and these criminals will be brought to justice. Very important news that happened a few days ago. The military intelligence head and his deputy were actually arrested in Russia. A little bit that we know, they promised Putin that will be a welcome to his forces. Why? Because they spent billions of dollars on creating a certain network of agents. These agents of influence were supposed to be prominent politicians, writers, and many others, obviously, in the army, like they did in 2014. It should be no secret that Russia is always fighting the war on few fronts, not just military. The most important front for them is, first of all, propaganda, propaganda, and propaganda. What do you think? In the response to the condemnation of the world that Russia commits war crimes, bombs hospitals, you know what they say? It was not a hospital. It was a place where Ukrainian nationalists were hiding. It's not true. There were children and mothers killed in this hospital. When they say that any civilians that were killed, they were killed only because of Ukrainian nationalists. That is actually the statement that communist Kremlin propaganda or Nazi propaganda of Kremlin actually made this today. What do you think when you hear, after all you've seen, that thousands of people died? When I have friends in Kharkov, in Sumy, in Kiev, that report to me live and say how scared they are because Russians indiscriminately fire at civilians. And they say, no, if anything happened, it is because Ukrainian nationalists, they don't say Ukrainian army, commit the crimes. The only thing that you can think of is Goebbels' statement, that if you repeat lies many times or enough times, then these lies become believable. So again and again and again, Kremlin propaganda shares lies. These lies rally, unfortunately, Russian people behind this criminal regime. And also in Ukraine, and in America and in Israel and in Europe and everywhere in the world, they spend their oil dollars, billions of dollars, on creating network of agents of influence. These agents of influence penetrated governments of European countries, penetrated Israeli government, penetrated, I'm sure, American government, American media, Russian media here in Israel, and everywhere, because that is part of the war effort of Kremlin that has its goals of world domination. And therefore, what can you do to stop this war? First of all, think about it. If Putin is called today by the American president, who's the leader of the free world, like we like him or not, it really makes Putin look weak. And the weakness of Putin will bring his dismissal. His army is not able, not capable to continue fighting the war. They will be retreating, and it will be great defeat, and he will not survive this defeat back at home. This is number one. But number two, something much more important than that. If you speak Russian, you speak English, you're probably part of some Facebook group, maybe Instagram, WhatsApp, and you see that there are few people that continue to spread the lies of Kremlin propaganda. And you need to decide for yourself, what do you do about it? Spending time on this, basically KGB agents, because most of these people, they may be registered in Hebrew and appear like Israelis, but if you look a little deeper, at least I saw some of them actually put their addresses Dnipro or Donbass, as they live in Donbass, which is supposedly Russian, liberated from Ukraine as part of Ukrainian territory. Most of these people work and receive salary in Russia. They are paid agents that are paid to spread lies and disinformation. This is a war of disinformation, and they have organizations, buildings of people that work 9 to 5. They come there, they get their salary. The only thing they do, they spread disinformation and lies on social media. You don't have the time and resources to fight them this way. What do you do if you identify a person like the agent? My suggestion, block him and report him. There are 70,000 fake accounts were removed from Twitter today. I'm sure it's not enough. Many more exist on Twitter, on Facebook, and any social media. That's number one. Number two, listen very carefully which journalists or which channels continue to support the war in Ukraine or against Ukraine, and they basically share the responsibility of the war crimes. They are also war criminals. So first of all, don't listen to them. Don't argue, but don't listen to them. You need to understand which politicians associated themselves with Russia's regime and praised Vladimir Putin. This is very important. Stay away from them as well. My personal suggestion, don't waste your time. You may have one post that you design for yourself that explains the situation, and if you see that someone's spreading lies in a particular group, try to understand if this person actually paid KGB agent or simply misinformed person. You can put one comment that is ready, leave it and see what's happening. But the best is complain to the group and say this person is misleading us, he's spreading hatred, supports the war against civilians, and this person should not be part of our group. If they do not remove this person from this group, you leave this group in protest. I want to wish you all a wonderful celebration of a miracle of victory of Purim. And may we see this victory again, and may all of us contribute at least a bit by sharing a true story. Remember, the fact that we are reading Megillat Esther, the book of Esther, it is because we need to remember the truth and we need to share the truth. Even if sharing the truth is sometimes scary or dangerous. Remember about this Russian anchor or editor of the Kremlin propaganda TV channel who actually risked 15 years of jail, but she went to demonstrate against the lies. Follow her lead, stand for the truth, and listen to the story of Purim and share the story of Purim of this year. All the best to you.